Care on South 27th, just north of 894. Tonight, Milwaukee hosts Arizona.
Oh, what a big hit for the kid, Tyler Black.
We'll preview tonight's matchup on the mound.
I'm capable of going out there, and making good pitches, capable of going out there and getting a ground ball when needed.
Thoughts on the lineup?
Yeah, we got a good lineup. We got guys who are going to get on base, steal bases, play good defense.
And all of the storylines heading into tonight's game.
We hit a homer tonight. You guys know that. I ordered that. I asked Sal, would you do me a favor? Go ahead and homer, get these guys off my back. Ruthless guys.
So let's get to it.
I mean, we have the best fans in the world.
Here is your host, Hunter Baumgardt.
Getting you set for Game 2 between the Brewers and the Arizona Diamondbacks at American Family Field this evening. A 6:40 first pitch with Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound for the Arizona Diamondbacks and Brandon Sproat on the mound for the Milwaukee Brewers. Welcome on in. A full hour of getting you set for Game 2 as the Brewers try to make it 3 wins in a row. They won last night in convincing fashion. An 8-run 6th inning propelled them to a 13-2 victory over the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks coming in with a record of 15-13. Guess what the Brewers are? Also 15-13. Again, a 6:40 first pitch. I have it for the next hour, whether it be on 9:20 a.m. in Milwaukee, Fox Sports 920, or YouTube, Facebook, and X, where we are live. Would love to hear your comments as we do each and every evening. And excited to get you set for this one tonight. Hopefully the Brewers can make it 3 in a row and kind of avenge some of the losses they had earlier in the week. Especially over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, they lost the series finale, the last 2 there in Detroit as well. So hoping they can kind of get those wins back tonight, and especially against an NL opponent. And a good one in the Diamondbacks, they already beat Merrill Kelly last night. I know Merrill Kelly has struggled so far this season compared to his previous years, but still beating Merrill Kelly is beating Merrill Kelly. And I'll tell you, Rodriguez has done pretty well for the Diamondbacks so far, and he's a lefty, which the Brewers they've known to struggle against so far this season. Rodriguez on the season 2-0 with a 2.89 ERA, and Brandon Sproat on the mound 0-1 with a 6.45 ERA. Obviously, that ERA inflated because of what he did early in his outings for the Milwaukee Brewers. First couple were not as good. Last few have been much better. We'll get into those numbers in a little while. But let's start how we always start the baseball pregame show, and that is with tonight's starting lineups for both of these teams. Let's start with the Arizona Diamondbacks, as I mentioned, coming in with a record of 15-13 on the season. They'll lead off with their shortstop, Geraldo Perdomo. Batting second at second base is Ketel Marte. Batting third in right field, Corbin Carroll. Cleanup hitter, the catcher, Adrian Del Castillo. Batting fifth and at first base, Ildemaro Vargas. Left fielder, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. will bat sixth and play left field. Batting seventh at third base, Nolan Arenado. Batting eighth as a designated hitter is Jose Fernandez. And batting ninth in center field is Alek Thomas. So for the Diamondbacks, it's Perdomo, Marte, Carroll, Castillo, Vargas, Gurriel Jr., Arenado, Fernandez, and Thomas. For the Milwaukee Brewers, how is Pat Murphy going to line these guys up against the lefty? Well, Brandon Lockridge is going to be in the leadoff spot for the 4th time this season. He is in left field. He's, by the way, 1 for 10 in the leadoff spot so far this year. Not great. Always can improve, and maybe tonight's the night. Batting second at second base is Bryce Terang. Batting third behind the plate is William Contreras. Cleanup hitter, the first baseman, Jake Bauers. Batting fifth as the designated hitter, Gary Sanchez back in the lineup. Batting sixth at third base, Luis Rengifo. Batting seventh in right field is Greg Jones. Batting eighth in center field is Blake Perkins. Batting ninth at shortstop is Joey Ortiz. So for the Brewers, it's Lockridge, Terang, Contreras, Bauers, Sanchez, Rengifo, Jones, Perkins, and Ortiz. Those are your starting lineups for the Diamondbacks and the Brewers here tonight. And I want to start out with a little bit of what Pat Murphy had to say about the lineups, and specifically Garrett Mitchell. As you'll notice, there's no Mitchell, there's no Frelick. But obviously, they're playing a lefty, so it makes sense. If you're going to give a guy a day off, maybe this would be the day. But for a while, I've been saying, let's play Garrett Mitchell every day. Play Garrett Mitchell every day because he deserves to play every day. He's been one of your biggest offensive contributors through the first month of the season. Well, Pat Murphy gave very sound reasoning today as why Mitchell won't necessarily play every day. He's played a lot of the games. He's played well over the majority of the games so far this year. but he's also got to be careful with Mitchell, obviously injury history and more. Here is what goes into Pat Murphy's mind when making a decision whether to put Mitchell in the lineup or not. Take a listen.
I mentioned the Mitchell thing to you guys before when he hasn't played. He's a type 1 diabetic. He hasn't played this much, in a while. Just want to be really mindful. So if you could pick a game to give him a break, you do. Not that he'll be out the whole game, but that changes the kind of effectiveness. Sometimes maybe the other guys get a chance because this would be a more effective time to do it. Maybe it's only half a game or whatever.
I think it's very sound. It makes a lot of sense from Pat Murphy, right? You're thinking, and as we know, and he's talked about it before, he's a type 1 diabetic. That goes into it. Got to be paying attention to that. If you know someone who has that, that there's a lot of attention that has to be paid to that. And then also his injury history. And we're still in that, just over the first month of the season. So trying to pick a spot where, okay, what might be a night where we want Garrett Mitchell out of the lineup tonight? Sounds like that night with Rodriguez, who's pitched very well this year. He's a lefty, and that is who the Brewers choose. Now, as he mentioned, Garrett Mitchell probably I would think is going to get a pinch hit appearance at some point tonight. Not necessarily getting the whole day. Pat Murphy not ruling that out, but at least out of the starting lineup to begin tonight. Now let's get into the news of the day, because unfortunately we had another key reliever for the Milwaukee Brewers go on the injured list. And this time it was Angel Serpa. If you missed the news, he is headed to the 15-day IL with left forearm tightness. And that's retroactive a few days to April 26th. But that's never something you want to hear with a pitcher, is forearm tightness. We know that. You know that. And it didn't really get any better when it came to what the news is about Angel Serpa. We'll get to Pat Murphy's comments here in just a moment, but the rest of that move is that left-hander Brian Fitzpatrick has been selected from AAA Nashville, so he is set to make his major league debut when he gets into a game out of the bullpen. Jackson Churio, Andrew Vaughn, both sent to AAA for their rehab assignments. They start 6:35 first pitch. Nashville Sounds against Norfolk. They're in Nashville. And then also Luis Matos is still in the organization. He cleared waivers and has been outrighted to AAA Nashville. So those are the list of transactions that the Brewers made today. But the top of that is Angel Serpa. And this is a guy you traded Nick Mears for. You traded Isaac Collins for. He's a key guy out of the Royals, organization that you wanted, that you thought could be a key guy in that bullpen, maybe in the 7th inning, maybe in the 8th inning, whatever. He's been put into many a leverage role with the Milwaukee Brewers so far in the first month of the season. And unfortunately, he goes down with left forearm tightness. Here's what Pat Murphy had to say before the game about the injury.
It's highly concerning.
It's something that had been kind of bothering.
I don't have a diagnosis
recently, or lingering.
I don't have a diagnosis. No.
Just came up. Just
came up. And we got him checked out. His velocity went down during the game. William looked over. That's the game I brought Anderson in to face Gonzalez, because William looked over and looked at me like, oof, it's not right. And the velocity was down some. It wasn't down drastically. But William looked over and kind of recognized it wasn't the same. That's when we got him out of there. And they checked him out. And now it's an IL. And there's going to be further testing and further evaluation. Second opinion, blah, blah, blah.
There's no timetable or anything at this point, or in terms of how long, how much time you might need.
Yeah, it looks like it could be more serious than. Yeah, he's not going to be back anytime soon. Big blow. We're kind of used to that.
Obviously, what stands out there, a couple things. One is that's obviously a big blow to the bullpen, and also that he's not going to be back anytime soon. Angel Serpa had given up runs in 6 of his last 8 appearances, which I know on the surface does not look good. And, obviously results are what matters at the big league level. The other part of that is they expected him to be a big part of this bullpen this year. And they expected him to be, obviously, when you trade for someone like that, you think highly of them. You are trading a guy in Isaac Collins who is 5th in Rookie of the Year voting, a guy in Nick Mears who had been kind of in that Angel Serpa role in a little, that can be leverage any inning type of guy. And you give him up to the Kansas City Royals, and you give both of those guys up for Angel Serpa. And Unfortunately, he goes down, and it just does not sound good. This sounds like a lengthy absence for the lefty out of the Brewers pen. Now, Angel Serpa also pitched in the World Baseball Classic. So Pat Murphy was asked about that, if he thought that contributed to this injury at all.
I don't think you obviously can allude to that, but there's no proof why these guys get hurt when they do. There's other guys that have been underused perfectly in the same thing. There's no rhyme or reason. So we don't know if there was remains of an old injury. We just don't know. You can't pin it on the WBC.
You can't pin it on the WBC, says Murph. And I agree. I don't think you can pin it on it. You also can't, I don't think, dismiss it either. And you can talk about it. And I know, there's been talk about moving the WBC to the middle of the season and trying to do, obviously the success of the WBC is awesome. We all loved it. It was so fun to watch. But in the back of our minds, whatever team you were a fan of, you were going, don't get hurt, don't get hurt, don't get hurt. And then Churio's out for more than the first month of the season. And then Serpa now has this forearm tightness. It sounds like he's going to be out a length of time. Like, I know things can happen in spring training and things can happen at any level, but when you're ramped up quicker and when you're playing in high leverage games quicker, pitching in high leverage areas quicker, who knows? Maybe that does take a little bit more of a toll. I would think it would. But again, you can't prove it necessarily. Pitching injuries just continue to be something that every team deals with. I mean, you look 90 miles to the south and what the Chicago Cubs are dealing with this year, and that is even more. I mean, you think the Brewers are beat up? Look at what the Cubs, and they just got a bad report on Justin Steele just in the last 24 hours as he's trying to make his way back. So pitching injuries are a thing throughout baseball, but of course it does feel like the Brewers continue to get hit with these, and now it's hitting the bullpen in Milwaukee this year. Jared Koenig obviously already out as a lefty, and now Angel Serpa. And one of the things that Pat Murphy stressed to us before the game today was the type of, not just the pitcher that Angel Serpa is, but how much Serpa has contributed in the clubhouse as well. Take a listen to what Pat Murphy had to say about the person that is Angel Serpa.
He's an unbelievable kid. Really a big lift to our team in a lot of ways.
What had stood out to you about him here in the first month?
Yeah, just his demeanor and his willingness to do whatever and pitch in any role, the way he came at people, the way he treats people in the clubhouse, the way he mixes in. He's a special dude.
He is, absolutely. And unfortunately, he may not be a big part of 2026 if he's gone a significant period of time. I mean, you think about where we are now. Let's say it's a, I don't know. These are all just guesses, but if you say, okay, 60-day IL, all right, we're sitting here on, let's say, May 1st. I mean, that's already, you're talking July 1st right there, right? You're talking 4th of July. So, and who knows, that might be on the better side. I don't know, but they are doing additional testing. They don't have a diagnosis. We'll wait and see, but it does not sound, and as Pat Murphy said, he does not think he'll be back anytime soon. So the big question becomes, who picks up the slack in the Brewers bullpen? Who is the guy that takes that role, right? Angel Serpa was kind of your leverage anytime reliever guy, right? Uribe and McGill. McGill's kind of everywhere right now as he's trying to get things back. But in a perfect world, Uribe has the 8th and McGill has the 9th. And so Serpa was that 7th or that 6th or an extra inning guy when he needed, or last time out, as Murphy alluded to in that first clip, talking about when he took him out. That was in the 10th inning. Last time Serpa pitched was Saturday night, top of the 10th, faced 4 batters, a hit and a walk, and then they brought Grant Anderson in. So who is going to kind of be that guy? And obviously, a guy like Jared Koenig is who you think of first. Well, of course, he is hurt right now. But then what about Shane Drowan, a guy you acquired from Boston in the Caleb Durbin deal? And he obviously came up, faced Boston at Fenway Park. Not that great of a start in Boston, but then has looked a little better out of the pen, ate a chunk of innings for the Brewers a few nights ago. Last Friday, came in last night, pitched a phenomenal 1-2-3 inning in the top of the 6th before the Brewers ended up scoring 8 runs in the bottom of the 6th inning. Could Shane Drowan kind of take that role of Angel Serpa? And what has Pat Murphy seen in Shane Drowan so far? Let's hear Pat Murphy.
Yeah, he was great. He was great last night. So obviously, when you throw a crucial inning in a 1-run game last night the way he did, the way he handled it. And again, his opening game in Boston, there was a lot of adversity there, and he still held his own. And I think the kid's got a real ability to help us. Again, another first time. It's fun.
Yeah, talking about Shane Drowan obviously making his major league debut earlier this month. He talked a little bit more about that. We'll get to Brian Fitzpatrick, who is the new addition to the bullpen. We'll get to him next segment as well. But Drowan's a lefty as well, so I got to think that he's going to get some more of those leverage close game innings, especially with how he performed last night. And we talked to Drowan last night after the game, and he's like, "Yeah, I'd be happy to, He thinks he can hack that type of role. Obviously, there's a lot of these guys who would like to be starters, and pitchers, that's probably their goal, is to be regular starter at the major league level. However, from the minute they acquired Drowan, I just kind of thought a bullpen, like there was just so many starting pitchers that they've acquired and that they have. And I just kind of thought he might work out in the bullpen, and he might be a real weapon in that bullpen. And Pat Murphy has talked very highly of him really since the beginning. When they acquired him and in spring training and in the regular season, like he really likes what Drowan has to offer. So don't be surprised if he's the one that kind of gets those Angel Serpa spots, because otherwise, of course, you're going to have Ashby in those leverage roles too when needed. DL Hall is still kind of that length option with your lefty. And then you have Fitzpatrick just coming into the major league level. We'll talk about him a little bit in the next segment and kind of get to know him. But I don't think they're going to throw him, in a big situation, a 3-2 game in the 8th inning necessarily right away. Maybe he grows into that, and he's been fantastic in Nashville. But you have those other guys for that. So just looking at the lefties, that's kind of where I see that out of the bullpen. So that is kind of that's unfortunately the news of the day, where the Brewers have lost a significant piece of that bullpen for what seems to be a long time. Comments flying in here on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Thanks so much for chiming in, everybody. Lex says, how about that flannel at the game last night? Yes, exactly. Yep, no doubt about that. You might have seen us on Brewers TV. Shout out to Jeff and Vinny for showing us. But it was all for Spencer Williams, who covered. I mentioned it on the pregame show last night. I said we were all wearing. You might notice that I was wearing flannel if you were watching the show. And that's because we were all wearing it in honor of our good buddy who works here with me, Spencer Williams. And it's fantastic. He's covered games for a while in this state, and he always wears flannel to the games. And so we're like, well, why don't we all wear flannel to pay homage to Spencer? And we did. And so he got his moment in the sun last night, well-deserved. So that was fun. That was fun. So, Lex, appreciate you coming in and referencing that as well. So want to hear your thoughts on these moves, on what the Brewers are doing, maybe with their lineup tonight. We can get into all of that as we move forward. We'll also dig into a little bit more about Eduardo Rodriguez. What has he done this year? He's on the mound for the Diamondbacks tonight. Brandon Sproat on the mound for the Crew tonight, and interested to see what he does against this potent Arizona lineup that, hey, Chad Patrick and the Brewers were able to keep at bay last night and then run away with that one. All right, when we come back, we're going to have our first guest of the baseball pregame show. How about that? We are going to bring on Dave Gasper, who covers the Brewers for Brew Crew Ball. And also, of course, you know him from The Huddle. He'll be on next week with the guys. And interested to get his thoughts on Brian Fitzpatrick, because he's been following this guy for a while. And he is going to be filling in for me on Friday when I have an absence from the baseball pregame show. So we'll do that coming up next. We'll dig into Brian Fitzpatrick. Who is Mr. Fitzpatrick? We'll dig into that next. This is the baseball pregame show presented by Import Minded right here on Fox Sports 920.
and we're getting you ready for the game. This is the Baseball Pregame Show with Hunter Baumgardt, presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894.
Welcome back as we get you set for Brewers and Diamondbacks. 6:40 first pitch. Brewers going for their third straight win as they begin this evening, and they have been, it's kind of been a streaky year, right? 8-2 start, then lose 6 in a row, then win 4 in a row, then you teeter with 500, then you get back to 500 at 13-13, and now here we are. They're 15-13 on the season, and seeing what they can do against Eduardo Rodriguez and the Diamondbacks tonight. Brandon Sproat on the mound for the Crew. Want to hear from you on YouTube, Facebook, or X. If you're watching, feel free to give us a comment, your thoughts on today's moves on Angel Serpa to the IL with left forearm tightness, and bringing up Brian Fitzpatrick are the Brewers, and he is set to make his major league debut whenever he comes in out of the bullpen. And speaking of the bullpen, Dave Gasper is joining us now out of the bullpen, and he is going to join us now here on the Baseball Pregame Show. Covers the Brewers for Brew Crew Ball, and you also hear him filling in on the Huddle on Admirals broadcasts as well. And he is going to be in for me on the Baseball Pregame Show on Friday night. Welcome in, Dave.
Thank you, Hunter. Thank you. Excited to be the first guest ever on this show. I mean, that's quite an honor for me. So this is something. Okay, I didn't know. I would have dressed up nicer for that if I knew that was going to be the case.
You would have thrown on some flannel.
Yeah, probably some more flannel. I debated going with it again tonight, but I'm like, nah, that's going to be too much.
It is. It was a blast last night. So Dave is going to be in for the Friday pregame show as they take on the Nationals, and the Nationals that is a 5:45 start. So Friday night show is going to be 4:30 to 5:30 here on Fox Sports 920 and the social media channels as well. So I thought I'd bring you on to discuss Brian Fitzpatrick, a guy who is set to make his major league debut. And for those who don't know, Dave loves to do the deep dives on the prospects and the draft picks and everything like that, college baseball. That is his expertise. So when it comes to Brian Fitzpatrick, so far in Nashville, he has not allowed an earned run in 10 1/3. He has been really good in Nashville. Now, he was a 10th round pick in 2022. Last year, he went through, I believe, 3 different levels in the organization. So he has really rose quickly within the last year or so. But what else should we know about Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, Brian Fitzpatrick. I mean, he fits into this bullpen group being he's such a tall pitcher too. I mean, you talk about the Jared Koenigs, the Trevor McGills of the world. You got Jacob Mizorowski in the rotation as well. Brian Fitzpatrick stands at 6'7". The Brewers love themselves short position players and tall pitchers. I mean, that's just how they've gone about building this roster. And Fitzpatrick, I honestly thought Fitzpatrick had a really good chance of being added to the 40-man roster last offseason to be protected from Rule 5.
Okay.
They opted not to. He was not selected, so he ends up staying in the organization and now gets the opportunity here. But he's a guy who's, I mean, fastball changeup primarily. When we talked to him today, talked about 5 pitches that he throws, but 3 of them are fastballs. He goes 4-seam, 2-seam, cutter there with the different fastball variations. Changeup is really, really good playing off of that. Then he has a sweeper that he mixes in there as well. But I mean, he was a senior signed coming out of Rutgers, signed for $100,000 back in 2022, so under slot. But having spent 4 years in college baseball, has really kind of learned how to pitch, and that helps him track up here quickly and move quickly throughout the system. So I'm excited for him. I love these moments. I love these major league debuts when we hear these guys' journeys, their stories about how they get told about their debut coming up. He had a great one from Rick Sweet today. Like it's just so beautiful to see like that culmination of all that work that you've had, that you've put in, like your dreams since you were 5 years old, all coming true tonight. I just love to see it. I'm incredibly excited for Brian Fitzpatrick here.
I love it. And speaking of that, Pat Murphy mentioned in his pregame press conference today about how much he enjoys this part of his job, seeing a guy making his major league debut. Let's hear from Pat Murphy on Mr. Brian Fitzpatrick.
Great this spring, fastball change, and I mean, he's got five offerings, but the fastball change sticks out. Every time out, he was good in spring. Got to keep your eye on, and then apparently he's done really well. Excited as hell for it. I love it. I love it. I'm so lucky to be in a position where you see all these guys make. How many guys have we made their debut this year? It's just incredible. That youth and that. It's one of the best parts of my position.
You think about all the guys that have made their major league debuts, not just this season, but even more so last season. I mean, this is a team that obviously prides themselves on building from within and especially on the pitching side. And Pat Murphy, it kind of feels like, for many reasons, it's kind of the perfect organization for him to lead. But also because of this, it's not everywhere that you get as many major league debuts as you get. But this team has to rely on their youth because they can't go and sign the big names. And so Brian Fitzpatrick is the next example of this. And I wonder, how he is going to do and also what role he's going to play. Obviously, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, but obviously it's not going to be, as I mentioned in the previous segment, it's not going to be, a 3-2 game in the 8th inning right now, right away. But he is, I just wonder if the stuff he has and the way he has pitched in Nashville, and AAA is a lot different, I get it, than the major league level. But I do wonder if slowly but surely we could see him be, less of the mop-up duty and more so of the closer game. Maybe, again, not 8th or 9th, but closer game in those middle innings.
Yeah, I think there's certainly something to earning those leverage opportunities, especially for a young, unproven rookie like this who has never pitched an MLB game before. Pat Murphy's not going to throw him into a one-run game in the 8th or 9th inning. But, I mean, if you throw him into, whatever opportunity it is, whether it's a close game but early on or whether you're down a little bit, whatever it is, if you throw him in and he's able to do well, I think you can very quickly earn those leverage opportunities because I think they're certainly there for the taking with Angel Zerpa out for the foreseeable future, with Jared Koenig out for the foreseeable future.
Right.
There are plenty of leverage opportunities there for the taking. So I think if Fitzpatrick continues this trend of not giving up an earned run so far this season, I think you can certainly earn yourself those opportunities. But yeah, with his mindset, just kind of basically being a bulldog out there on the mound, just being able to attack, being able to compete with guys, and just how he's gone about his whole career, I think that sets him up very well for some of those opportunities. Coming into the season, I had him as my 40th ranked prospect in this Brewers system. I do a top 50 list every single year, one of the deepest prospect lists you'll find out there.
Yes.
And I had him at 40. I thought he really was, very close to the big leagues. And sure enough, he is. And he gets the call here. And especially with Zerpa out for a while. And the Brewers like having those multiple lefties out there in the bullpen, right? You got Ashby, you got Hall, you got Drowan now, and now you've got Fitzpatrick.
They're 4-4 right now.
They love having the 4-4. They love having the extra lefty options out there. So we could be seeing him here for quite some time because you look at the rest of their bullpen options down in the minors, they don't really have a ton of lefties in that Nashville bullpen.
Yeah, that's a good point too, and that could spell good for him, obviously, to be a lefty and to maybe have some staying power, depending on how long Angel Zerpa's out. And it sounds like he's going to be out a significant period of time. So let's hear from the man himself. This is Brian Fitzpatrick meeting with the media earlier today at American Family Field.
Well, welcome. How did you get the news, and how do you feel just being here and getting this started?
It's great to be here. How I got the news was yesterday, getting ready for a game in Nashville, about an hour before the game. Doing my normal pregame routine, finish getting out of the shower, and then we're just getting dressed. And Tyler Thornburg, our pitching coach, tapped me on the shoulder and said, somebody wants to talk to you. And heart kind of sank a little bit. And we were like, okay, that's either really good or really bad. And walked in there, and he said, what took you so long? Because I was still getting changed. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He was like, well, you're going up to the big leagues. I figured you'd get in here a little sooner. And I was like, wow, and he said thank you, and guys are really excited, but that's all for now.
Brian, when you were here for the exhibition games, did you allow yourself to kind of think about maybe what was to come this season, and could you be a part of this up here?
That's always the goal is to get up here, and when you're in the minor leagues, and to help out the organization any way you can. But during that time, I was really trying to soak it all in and be in the moment. And I knew that that's how I was going to eventually get here. It's just by taking it a day at a time, task at a time.
No earned runs allowed in Nashville so far this year. Just what's been working for you so far this season?
Kind of what I just said. Just taking it a day at a time, task at a time. Trusting my preparation, trusting my work, and trusting that if I take care of the things I'm supposed to, that everything else will take care of itself.
You're another success story of the homegrown pitching that the Brewers were able to do. What have you learned in this organization that has ultimately led to you making your big debut?
To trust in what they're saying, because when you are in an organization that has had such great success with pitchers, it's not a fall in line type of thing because they want you to be individuals, but you look at the guys ahead of you and you understand that they're really good for a reason, and the help that they received was really good as well. So trust in the people around me.
How did you describe last year and just like how you were able to climb the different levels that you did?
It was a lot of travel. Went from Wisconsin to Biloxi and then finished in Nashville, but it was the dream. It's you're getting to play baseball every single day and getting to do it with a bunch of great guys, and I'm excited to continue that here.
For people that haven't seen you pitch, how would you describe your game and what you do on the mound?
I'm a competitor. I love to compete, and I leave it all out there. I don't leave any regrets on the field, and I love to think that that's my everybody's got something that they're really good at in this world, and I was blessed enough to be really good at baseball, and I think that out there is my canvas, and I want to show the world out.
From being around the guys in spring training, the big league guys, is there anything specific you could take away from the guys who have done it at this level for a long time?
All of those guys are incredibly welcoming. I wasn't in big league camp, but I got a lot of innings in spring training, and every time I went over there, all the guys were just incredibly nice and really welcoming, and they made it feel like I was a part of the team when I was over there. So those guys are awesome in there, and it's a reason why there's been a lot of success in that room.
Speaking of that success, Brewers consistently winning on the field. How do you feel you fit into this product here?
I feel like I fit in great. I feel like I can definitely help in any way that I can, but I feel like I fit in really well.
Ryan, what do you throw? What is your repertoire?
4-seam, 2-seam, cutter, changeup, sweeper.
Okay.
5-pitch mix.
Okay.
And yeah.
Thanks, Brian.
There you go. That is Brian Fitzpatrick, the newest Brewer, called up from AAA Nashville and going to be in that bullpen tonight and possibly getting into the ball game. So be on the lookout for that as the Brewers take on the Diamondbacks. 6:40 first pitch. We're about just under 35 minutes away from first pitch. Dave Gasper joining us, covers the Brewers for Brew Crew Ball, and also fills in here on the Huddle, and will be filling in for me on the Baseball Pregame Show Friday night. So final question for you, Dave, as our kind of our prospects guru here. Who are a couple to watch right now? Obviously, Luis Lara is the one that's getting a lot of attention in that AAA Nashville lineup. But who are we looking at as far as in this system right now?
Yeah, a lot of places to look. Very talented group. Blake Burke, the last piece of the Corbin Burns trade, first baseman down in AA Biloxi. He just hit a home run, his 8th of the season down there in Biloxi, straight into a 25-mile-an-hour wind coming straight in from center field. So you had 25-mile-an-hour wind blowing straight in from center, and he still hit it out, cutting straight through the wind. His 8th home run of the season already. He's off to an incredible start. Josh Adamszewski with the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers has been awesome as well. Very excited about what he can do. He is an outfielder, kind of started as an infielder, but they moved him to the outfield now. And also, just kind of another name to look at here. He has already signed the big money extension. Cooper Pratt has been off to a really kind of a bad start to the season, has not looked good, but over his last 4 games is 6 for 14.
Ooh.
So he got his first home run in AAA. So Cooper Pratt perhaps starting to heat up. That is something to keep an eye on. But Blake Burke is being phenomenal down there in AA. Jesus Made, the top prospect overall in the system, just fired a 100-mile-an-hour throw from shortstop to first base the other day. Just a cannon for an arm.
Crazy.
He's also, hitting the cover off the ball, hitting like 300-something down there in Biloxi. Just doing absolutely stupid stuff for an 18-year-old in AA. So he's obviously another big name to watch there. But in terms of who could help Milwaukee soon here, keep an eye on Cooper Pratt and if that hot streak continues. Because if he keeps hitting like that, it won't be too much longer before we see him get up here.
Yeah, I'm interested to see at what point they do end up pulling that trigger and getting him into the major league level. So, all right. Well, Dave, you will have the reins on Friday night at Friday afternoon and evening, I guess. 5:45 first pitch, 4:30 to 5:30 baseball pregame show on Friday. He'll be in for me and getting you set for Brewers and Nationals in DC.
Yeah, let's go. The Joey Wiemer revenge series once again.
Yeah, the Brewers got swept by the Nationals last time they played them. So let's maybe,
the Joey Wiemer, the Corey Ray, the Victor Estevez revenge series. A lot of former Brewers on that Nationals team.
Really is. All right. Well, thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Hunter.
You bet. And when we come back, we are going to get you the lineups one more time, dig into the pitching matchup tonight a little bit, and also the fast facts, things to make you a little smarter as you watch or listen to tonight's ball game. All that coming up. It's the Baseball Pregame Show right here on Fox Sports 920.
Milwaukee takes the field in a matter of minutes. It's time to take a look at tonight's lineup on the Baseball Pregame Show, presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894. Here's Hunter Baumgardt.
Brewers and Diamondbacks under a roof-closed American Family Field this evening. 6:40 first pitch. We're about 25 minutes away. Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound for the Diamondbacks. Brandon Sproat on the mound for the Brewers. We'll dig into the pitching matchup a little more specifically in a moment, but let's get you those starting lineups for both of these teams tonight. Both of them coming in with the same exact record through 28 games on the season. Both teams are 15-13 on this young season. So let's start with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Leading things off is the shortstop, Geraldo Perdomo. Batting second at second base is Ketel Marte. Batting third in right field, Corbin Carroll. Batting fourth, the cleanup hitter, the catcher, Adrian Del Castillo. Batting fifth at first base, Ildemaro Vargas. Batting sixth in left field, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Batting seventh at third base, Nolan Arenado. Batting eighth as a designated hitter is Jose Fernandez. And batting ninth in center field is Alek Thomas. For the Diamondbacks, it's Perdomo, Marte, Carroll, Castillo, Vargas, Gurriel Jr., Arenado, Fernandez, and Thomas. For the Milwaukee Brewers against the lefty Rodriguez. Keep that in mind as we go throughout this lineup here, folks. Batting first in left field is Brandon Lockridge. Batting second at second base, Bryce Turang. Batting third behind the plate, William Contreras. Cleanup hitter, the first baseman, Jake Bowers. Batting fifth as the designated hitter tonight, Gary Sanchez. Batting sixth at third base, Luis Rengifo. Batting seventh in right field, Greg Jones. Batting eighth in center field, Blake Perkins. And batting ninth at shortstop is Joey Ortiz. For the Brewers, it's Lockridge, Turang, Contreras, Bowers, Sanchez, Rengifo, Jones, Perkins, and Ortiz. And let me tell you this, the only righty to hit leadoff for the Brewers this year has been Brandon Lockridge. No other righty has been in the starting lineup as a right-handed hitter. So something to keep in mind. Lockridge, unfortunately, in the leadoff spot this year through 3 games, 1 for 10 in that spot. It'll be his 4th game at the leadoff position. All right, starting pitchers for these two clubs. Eduardo Rodriguez, left-hander for the Arizona Diamondbacks, 2-0 with a 2.89 ERA so far this season. Brandon Sproat is 0-1 with a 6.45 ERA this season. Let's start with Eduardo Rodriguez. Now, last time out, didn't have a great outing against the White Sox. Went 5 innings, allowed 4 earned runs, walked 3, struck out 4, and allowed 6 hits. Now, here is the difference between what Rodriguez did to start the year. It's interesting. Rodriguez and Sproat have opposite years so far. And it's only a month in, but just opposite seasons so far. Rodriguez was great in the first part of his season, and since has not been as great. Sproat, not so good in the first part, better in the last couple. So Rodriguez only gave up 1 earned run in his first 3 starts, respectively. But then he's given up 4 earned runs in his last 2 starts, respectively. So in his last 2 starts, he's given up 4 earned runs and 4 earned runs. So that's interesting to note that he is trending kind of in the wrong direction for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And through his first 3 starts of the season, he only gave up 1 earned run total, actually. I said respectively, but it's total. So the first 3 starts for Rodriguez, he only gave up 1 earned run total. And now his last 2 starts, he's given up 8 earned runs total, 4 in each start. Brandon Sproat, last time out against the Detroit Tigers, went 5 1/3, gave up 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. Held the Brewers in it against Tarek Skubal, and eventually they had the lead in that game. So then Brandon Sproat, you look at his season as a whole, right? He gave up 11 earned runs in his first 2 outings of the season. But in the last 3, he's given up 1 earned run, 1 earned run, and 3 earned runs. So he has been way better in his last 3 than his first 2. His best start of the season was against Toronto at home, his last home start, when he went 6 2/3, just 1 earned run allowed, struck out 6, and walked 1. The Brewers ended up winning that series finale against the Blue Jays 2-1, and won that series as well, 2-1, and won 2 of those games 2-1. But Brandon Sproat and Rodriguez have had both opposite starts to the season. Now, Rodriguez also is 0-3 against the Brewers in his career, and his ERA is 4.58 against the Brewers so far in his career. So can the Brewers get to him? Maybe. They've also struggled against lefties this season. However, good to see Gary Sanchez back in the lineup because against lefties this season, he's hitting .529 with 2 home runs, 4 extra base hits, 7 RBIs, 4 walks, and his OPS 1.678. Okay? Everybody dance now. 1.678. Okay? And it's 6 and 6, 7, 8. There you go. Okay. But yeah, Gary Sanchez, that batting average at .529 against lefties. Look out for Gary to do some damage coming up this evening. Hopefully he does. He's batting 5th for the Crew tonight. All right, here's some fast facts for you to make you a little smarter as you watch tonight's ball game. And want to hear from you as well on YouTube, Facebook, or X. Boss coming in says Blake Burke was on a 9-game drought between home runs. But if he ever gets consistent power, he'd be a nice long-term first baseman for Milwaukee. He's such a big and strong dude. Yeah, I mean, yes. I think it's yeah. Also, yeah, Dave Gasper is still in the studio, and he's like, 9 games is a drought. Yeah, we may. I don't think it's quite a drought yet for if it's just 9 games. However, as a team, the Brewers just went 7 games, so that is a drought because it's your whole team. One guy having a 9-game drought, I don't think we're okay. But yes, absolutely. He can absolutely be a part of the future for Milwaukee, and I think the Brewers are hoping so. All right, a couple things to look for tonight. Speaking of the home run, Sal Frelick homered last night. So that, great news. The Brewers can still hit home runs. We weren't sure for a while because the Brewers had a homerless streak of 7 games, which was their longest since 1999. The team has now hit 2 home runs over their last 12 games, which might be even a little bit of a scarier stat than going homerless in 7. But either way, you want to look at that. Last night, the Brewers scored 8 runs in the 6th inning. Did you know it's their most runs in an inning since May 31st of last year when they scored 8 runs in the 4th inning against Philadelphia? And I remember that because that was I believe it was a Saturday. And that was when the Brewers were turning things around. That was also the week of the Grand Slam, the walk-off Grand Slam by Yelich, the turning point in Pittsburgh that I always point back to when people talk about the 2025 season. That season turned in Pittsburgh in the series finale. They're about to lose the series, go to 3-4 games under 500. Isaac Collins missed one and left, but then they came back and they won. And then the rest is history, literally, because they set the franchise record in wins last year. But that was a turning point last year when they scored 8 runs in an inning. Maybe it's a turning point this year. By the way, they have not scored 8 runs in an inning at home since 2021. So if you're at last night's game, not only were there people eating spaghetti in the crowd and it was flannel night, but also you witnessed some history that hasn't happened since 2021. So just, know all that as you go on. Also, I feel like we're talking to this guy every night because he's somehow making plays, not somehow making plays, but he's somehow impacting the game. And I guess that's making plays, also impacting the game. But David Hamilton, get this, he leads all Major League Baseball players in bunt hits this season with 5. And last night I asked him how much his confidence is growing, and he's like, Pat Murphy told me in spring training, just practice it, get better at it because you can use your speed to get on base if you bunt. And he said, I've never really been a good bunter, but obviously the confidence is now growing because he's been successful at it. And as I mentioned, David Hamilton leads all Major League Baseball players with 5 bunt hits. By the way, the Brewers are tied for the Major League lead with the Diamondbacks and the White Sox with 9 bunt hits this season. So the White Sox lead a category. So that is also something. But the Diamondbacks also like to bunt too. So keep an eye on that tonight as well. Charles chimes in. I've got a good feeling about Perkins and Greg Jones tonight. Time for a breakout. Oh, hey, absolutely. I love the positivity coming from you, Charles. So there you have it. Brewers and Diamondbacks. That's pretty much everything you need to know. If you listen to this show, you're probably all set to go for Brewers and Diamondbacks at 6:40 at American Family Field. So let me give you a rundown of what's going to happen the rest of the week. 6 until 7 tomorrow. Milwaukee baseball tonight. I'll have you tomorrow evening. We'll look back at what the Brewers did against the Arizona Diamondbacks, not only tonight, but also in the series finale tomorrow afternoon. So 6 until 7. on, of course, WOKY 920 in Milwaukee, and also YouTube, Facebook, and X. If you're watching right now, it'll be live there. And then on Friday, as I mentioned, Dave Gasper will be in for me on the baseball pregame show. That is 4:30 to 5:30 on Friday evening before the Brewers start a 3-game set against the Washington Nationals. And then next Monday will be the next pregame show after that, of course, before the Brewers take on the Cardinals. And by that time, we might even have Chourio and Vaughn back with the big league club. They start tonight for Nashville. They are both in the lineup, actually batting first and second. It's Chourio leading off, then Vaughn batting second. So they are going to be in, probably play about 5 innings tonight. Chourio in the outfield, Vaughn at first base, see how they do. But the target is that May 4th game, which is Monday against St. Louis. Thanks again to Dave Gasper coming in, and thanks to him for filling in on Friday. Thanks to you, everyone who chimed in. Appreciate everyone chiming in on this evening. Follow our coverage. Follow me on socials at Hunter B on Air. That is where you can follow me and make sure you're getting all the Brewers content you need. This has been the Baseball Pregame Show, presented by Import Minded, right here on Fox Sports 920.